annual harvest breakfast here on the beautiful campus of Chesapeake College. My name is Jenny Rhodes. I work for the University of Maryland Extension. I am your county ag agent here. We were going to get started with the pledge, and we're going to do Pledge Allegiance, and we're going to do the 4-H pledge. So I'm going to ask Madison Branham to come up, and I'm going to ask Abby Gerald to come up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my will.
All right, we are going to have a brief welcome from David Harper here at Chesapeake College. He's the Vice President of Workforce and Academic Progress here at Chesapeake College. So there he is. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. We are in good company here today, and I just walked by the buffet, and I'm already grateful because I know that we are going to be very well fed. So it's just a good place to be, good company, good food. My job is to welcome you on behalf of Dr. Coppersmith, President of Chesapeake College. Chesapeake is really proud to stand with and support this community. It's awesome to see how many people in Y Mills this morning, in Queen Anne's County this morning, are coming out to support ag. Agriculture is in many ways the backbone of American character and American community, and it certainly is in our region. Thomas Jefferson said, if there were a chosen people on this planet, now I'm paraphrasing, mind you, but he said, if there were a chosen people on this planet, it is farmers. He said people who cultivate the earth, but he was talking about farmers. And it's because he thought that in addition to plants, in addition to animals, farmers cultivate virtue. And that is absolutely true from my experience growing up in Caroline County. When you have a farming community, you have a hard-working community. When you have a farming community, you have a community that values character, that values relationships, knowing one another, supporting one another, and helping each other out. And that is absolutely evident in the faces here this morning. We're grateful for the Cooperative Extension and all represented here, for 4-H and all represented here, and for the communities that are connected to everybody in this room. I would be remiss, though, if I did not acknowledge that farming requires one of the most sophisticated skill sets of any industry, and diverse. Everything from plant science and animal science and soil science to understanding complex machinery and maintaining it so that it can be of value for the long haul, to calculating a huge complex suite of inputs every year and then monitoring the yields that they produce at the end of the year and how those line up one with the other. And it's not like any season is anything like the next season. No two seasons, and in my experience, almost no 2 days are ever alike in farming. So it's an extraordinary skills. Markets, the Chicago Board of Trade, I mean, so many different, the computers now and drones, so many different things go into this industry. And it's of great respect, and it deserves that. And that's one reason that we are so proud to support it with our own agriculture program. Professor Nicole Barth tries to introduce students to as many of those skill sets as she can. We are one of the very few community colleges that has an ag program that leads to associate degree and then can articulate up to College Park and the University of Maryland, just because there's so many ways and so many different jobs that go into ag, and therefore so many different ways that ag supports us and our communities and our families and our economies. So I think Thomas Jefferson was on to something. The work that is represented here and the work that the ag community does is absolutely vital, not only to this region, but to American values and American culture and American economies. And we're just so proud to stand with that this morning. So good morning and thank you. And I think Jenny Rhodes is back up. Yep.
So David, we are very proud of the ag program here. In fact, Cheryl Bush and myself, we were here last night teaching. We were here with the food science class, and we were doing a lab with them, and we taught them about pressure canning last night. And Cheryl had been here the week before to give them kind of in class. So thank you for those opportunities to partnership. We appreciate that very much. All right. on with our program. Next, we will have our invocation. So I asked Stephen King to come up and give the invocation. If you don't know this gentleman, he is 4-H renowned. He does a lot of things in 4-H, but I want you to know that their family is going to be on Maryland Farm and Harvest. How many watch Maryland Farm and Harvest? Right? So their family will be on sometime soon, so make sure that you see that. They were out to our county fair, and then I understand they were at their farm too, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So Stephen, I'll turn it over to you for the invocation.
Let us pray. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the gift of agriculture and the opportunity to explore agritourism here this morning. Please bless this food, the hands that have prepared it, and those that will receive it. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you for coming, but I have a couple people that I want to introduce, and first and foremost are the team that I work with at the Queen Anne's County Extension Office. We have a great team. Caroline, you saw her, Caroline, when you came in. She's our administrative assistant. She keeps us all straight, and this is the reason that we can do so much in our office. Also, Lee Sappinger-Bridgman is here. Lee is my right hand. She works with agriculture and horticulture. And then Rachel Rhodes. Rachel does horticulture and Master Gardeners. And where's Cheryl? There's Cheryl. Cheryl Bush is our family and consumer science agent. And Jeff Moore writes nutrient management plans for our farmers. I think I've got everybody, so I appreciate it. Let's give them a round of applause because they do a lot of work. Let's see, today we have Phil Dumanel, our county commissioner. Phil, where are you? Where are you? There he is. Thank you for being here. We have our delegate, Steve Arnst is here. There's Steve in the back. Thanks, Steve. And then today, I have, like, all of my bosses are here today, so please don't say anything bad about me, because they're all here. So we have Dean Bayruti, Craig Bayruti. He's the Dean and Director of the University of Maryland, the College of Ag and Natural Resources. So where is he at? There he is. There he is, way in the back. Thank you for coming. And then we have Dr. Jin-Hee Kim. She is Associate Dean and Associate Director of the University of Maryland Extension. She's up here in the front. Thank you, Jin-Hee, for being here. And then I would say my real boss, Dr. Darren Jarbo. He's in charge of all the ag agents like myself and all the specialists. So he has a big, certainly a big job to do. He's Associate Director and Program Leader of Ag and Food Science. And then we have Bill Hubbard is here. He is also Associate Director and Program Leader for Environmental and Natural Resources. Where's Bill? There he is. Oh, he's hiding over there. Okay. Oh, and Paul Rickard is here. Paul is our Area Extension Director. He's in the back. And these tables up front, these are the most important tables, I have to tell you. This is our future of agriculture. I want the FFA students and I want our 4-Hers to stand up. Stand up. And I want you to give them a round of applause. For our community, you're going to see 4-H and FFA, from 4-H to FFA, but these are some real leaders, and I am very happy with the future of agriculture with these leaders that we have. Now, some of our current leaders that I'm happy with, I'll tell you. So we have our Secretary of Agriculture. Where's Kevin Addix? There he is in the back. Our Deputy Secretary, Steve Conley. Steve. And our very own Hans Schmidt, he is the Assistant Secretary of Resource Conservation. Oh, Hans, I'll never remember that one. But our own Queen Anne's County. And then we have lots of other members. I'm not going to ask you to stand, but certainly thank you to all the chamber members, all the county officials. Oh, I will ask the Sheriff's Department to stand. So the Sheriff's Department gets to put up with us because we are in the same building with them, so we're in the front and they're in the back. But we thank you for all you do for our county, very important. We have lots of people that work for the government. I want to thank all the people that have businesses here in our county. If it wasn't for you taking those risks, our county would certainly not be, what it is today. And then certainly, we're here today to celebrate the harvest, so thank you certainly to our farmers that are here today. Look on your program on the back, I believe, are all of our collaborators. So these are all the things that we work together. So we have the Chamber of Commerce, 4-H, FFA, the Maryland Food Bank, and none other than George from QATV. And thank you, George, for all you do. George has really been a big help to us to help to get the agriculture message certainly out to our community, and George is always there whenever we ask him to really come and speak. And then thank you to our sponsors. We have Friels. Friels is here. What, you guys? Farm Credit. Where's our Farm Credit people? I see them all around. And then we have, now this is a new one, Burke and Herbert Bank. So they merged, so they just finished their merger. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate that very much. I also wanted to tell you that something special happened last week, and the Chamber of Commerce recognized the University of Maryland Extension, the Queen Anne's County office. They had a business, what do they call it? A celebration of business 2024. And we were recognized for 110 years of service to our county. So I'm very proud of that. Our little plaque that we got is out on the table, and we're going to proudly display that at our office. So, but thank you for the Chamber for that. So every year, I'm just going to do a short recap of what has happened in ag. I think that this year has probably been one of the toughest years that I can remember in agriculture. There's been certainly a lot of things going on, low commodity prices. The Chicago Board of Trade does not look too well. High input prices for farmers, extreme heat this summer, and certainly long periods of no rain. We're happy for the little bit of rain we got, but we are still in a drought, so we're going to keep praying for some more rain. But science and research has really led our farmers to be able to better deal with all these extreme movements in climate. We're really lucky that we have the research that's been done, that we had the genetic traits now for our corn crop was really amazing. If that had been probably 25 years ago, we'd be lucky if we'd be looking at, small amounts, 25 bushels to the acre. But I can tell you, yields in our county were all over the place. It depended on when you got rain, it depended on when you planted, but we are certainly thankful for the harvest that we did have. And we had a good harvest year because it was hot and dry. I think most farmers are just about done. If not, they're almost done. But farmers are already working right. They're optimists. They're looking forward and really working on for next year. So without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce our speakers for this morning. So we have Heather Tonelli. She is the Director of Tourism and Economic Development. We are very lucky that Heather partners, and she sees the importance of agriculture in our county. So we partner with her and also Planning and Zoning. I think Stephanie is here. And we obtained a grant, and our study was entitled Agritourism, Economic, and Land Use. So we hired, you're going to hear from Mary Burkholder. She is with BAE Urban Economics to do this. She did all the research. So we've been working, we've been meeting, going back and forth, but it's been an eye-opener for me. I know that we have agritourism in our county, but we really want to expand that. We are really the gateway to the Eastern Shore. We have a lot of people coming here for tourism, so we feel like there's a lot more that we can offer people. So anyway, they're going to give us a little update. We are not quite finished putting everything together. The final report will come out soon, but you're going to kind of get a sneak peek of some of the preliminary findings. So I will turn it over to Heather.
So I have been coming to this breakfast since it was back at the 4-H park, and I'm sure many of you have come long before that. So I'm feeling pretty special that I was actually offered the opportunity to come up to speak, being able to enjoy those breakfasts for so many years and hearing all the great presentations. So I'm feeling like I'm moving up in the world, and I just wanted to thank Jenny and Lee for the opportunity today. So as Jenny said, my name is Heather Tonelli. I'm the Director of Economic and Tourism Development for the county. Born and raised here for generations. My family comes from a long line of watermen. My great-grandparents were farmers. But I'll be the first to tell you that I'm certainly not equipped with a great deal of knowledge when it comes to agriculture. I want to learn as much as I can, but I rely very heavily on Jenny and Lee and the Extension Office. And to have them in your corner, you are so blessed. They advocate for you every day, all the time, and they are just a wealth of knowledge, and I just wanted to thank them for that. Anytime we have a project that comes, whether that has anything to do with agriculture, I reach out to them first off to make sure I can understand what exactly it is that company wants to do. They are also advocates and help us out with our micro ag grant program, which is coming up in January. If you don't know about that, reach out to Jenny and Lee, reach out to our office. They're small grants to help you innovate and or look at new ways of producing something, and or if you want to try an innovation or try something new with agritourism, that's your opportunity to do that. So one thing I do know about agriculture is the hard work and the dedication that you all put into the work that you do. And the work ethic is not something you see every day. So it's really great to see that, you know, our farmers and how much effort you put into the work, and that you're feeding the world, you're feeding our families, and it's just really important. So what you do is also important to the county. It's one of our leading industries. It's so it's a great economic driver in many ways, whether it's jobs or whether it's the ecosystem that you support, you know, the truckers that are carrying your grain, the innovations and the technology and the tractors and all the things that you need to do what you do. Those are great economic drivers for us in the county. Our county commissioners strongly support the industry as well. You know, they advocate for the MOUTH program, and they are supporters of our micro ag program, and obviously great supporters of the Extension Office as well. So to give you a brief history of this study and how it came to be, the Extension Office actually came to us and said, you know, we want to see what we can do to move forward agritourism and to better understand from the business side of things where we are in agritourism and where we are in the agriculture industry and what we can do to move the industry as a whole forward, and to look at a land use study. And in addition, at the same time, our Planning and Zoning Department had just finished up the comprehensive plan, which also said that they wanted to look at this issue and what they could do to better support the ag community. And it all aligned perfectly because we also received $2.9 million from a grant from Governor Hogan before he left. He gave $10 million to each of the rural areas to support various projects. Queen Anne's County had 11 projects, and 2 of those were agriculture focused. One of them is the study, which you'll hear about in a minute, and then the other portion, which we're very thankful for the commissioners approving, was $1.5 million that went to the 4-H park renovations, which I'm sure many of you all have seen or heard about, and we're very proud about that. That was our largest project, obviously 1.5 of the 2.9, and then we had this project here where we were doing the land use study. So what's unique about it is it really was a collaboration from the land use side of things with our Planning and Zoning Department. Amy and Stephanie were key in that. Our office looking at it from the economic development and business side of things, and then certainly last but not least, working from the extension side of things in the agriculture community, what we could do to support the industry. We put that project out for RFP, and now I'm going to introduce Mary Burkholder, who was the principal at BAE Urban Economics, and she worked with us for almost a year. It's been quite a bit of time to get to the end result, which, as Jenny mentioned, we're almost there, thank goodness. But we've learned a lot. The purpose of the study was to look at where we are now in the ag industry as a whole, agritourism, to look at other counties to kind of see what they're doing, to see if there's things that we can implement, and then to see where we're going in the future and how do we get that. We want to make it as seamless and easy as possible for you as farmers to be able to maintain your farms, keep them in the families, look at innovations, look at ways to sustain your farms, whether it's through agritourism or whatever it might be. And this study kind of helps us get there to look towards the future. So now I'm going to ask Mary to come on up, and I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to give you some of the key findings and results of this study. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As Heather said, I've been working on this. Actually, we started working on it in April. The RFP, I think, went out in February, and we've been working on it now for a little more than 6 months, but we are very close to the finish line. So what I'm going to do today is just go over, and I'll explain this, but I'll just go over what our key findings were, and then kind of what we are looking at for preliminary recommendations, are the findings, with what we found and what it leads to. So with that, can everybody hear me and everybody see the presentation? Okay, good. All right. So we're going to cover the assignment, explain a little bit about what we were asked to do, our approach and our methodology, and then look at some of the economic analysis key findings, the land use and zoning analysis key findings, and then we looked at some case studies of what some of the other places in Maryland are doing, that there may be something that can be learned from those case studies. And then this would be the initiatives that we think will expand opportunities for agritourism in Queen Anne's County. So our assignment, BAE Urban Economics, we're a national urban economics firm. We're actually based in California, but my office is in DC. Of late, I've mostly worked, since the pandemic, mostly worked from my home in Annapolis, which is very close by. So I'm a longtime Marylander, and we also have RHI with us, who were our subcontractor, who are planners. So they actually advised on the planning and land use and zoning parts. And then there are two parts to it. We're still under, the agritourism, economic, and land use analysis is now complete, and these is really going to be focusing on the findings and the opportunities from that. And then the agritourism study and policy report will have some clear recommendations, and we are almost to the finish line. We have gone through a draft, so I think we're close to the final draft on that. So that will be probably within the next couple of weeks. And then the components of the economic and land use, it's an economic analysis of the existing agriculture sector and agritourism. And then a land use analysis of the agritourism industry, what is in place now, and what obviously what we might recommend for the future. And then looking at these case studies, and then again, the policies and initiatives to expand the opportunities for agritourism. So we worked with the steering committee, and both Jenny and Heather alluded to this, and we had a great steering committee. Heather Tonelli, who leads the Economic and Tourism Development Department, and her staff. I know Rebecca's here as well. And then the Planning and Zoning Department, Stephanie Jones is here, and Amy Mordock is the director. She's not here, but we worked a great deal with both of them. And then, again, very important support from the University of Maryland Extension, both Jenny Rhodes and Lee Bridgman, and really represented kind of the farmers and understanding what's important within the agriculture community for the study and what the results of it. So our methodology started with economic research. Some of you may know the USDA does an agriculture census, and it just so happens that the last agriculture census, which was conducted in 2022, was released in 2024. So the broad information we have about farming and agriculture and agritourism in Queen Anne's County is actually the most recent information that's been collected. So that's good news. We also looked at some other U.S. economic sources, the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and then because we were looking at agritourism, we also had to look at tourism. And we got that data from the Maryland Office of Tourism. And then we did review the county's zoning and subdivision regulations, the 2022 comprehensive plan, as Heather mentioned, that was completed pretty recently, and then the permitting process. We did a number of stakeholder focus groups, and we did some individual interviews. I think some of people who participated in our stakeholder groups and our individual interviews are in the room today. So we thank you for giving us that valuable information. And then we did, like I said, a research and review of other Maryland counties' agritourism for potential best practices. And what we did then is at the end of this process, and what we're now finalizing, identification of policies, initiatives that will enhance the opportunities for agritourism. And I should say right from the beginning that I think all of us agree on the steering committee, and all of us I think we met with in the interviews and the focus groups. Really, the mission of all this is to expand, I guess, help to sustain agriculture and increase opportunities for agriculture, and agritourism is a good vehicle to do that. So that's I think part of what our real focus was in doing this. So just a few key findings on the county agriculture industry. The Census Agriculture says there are 505 farms and 162,000 plus acres in the county. You actually have one of the largest amounts of acreage in the county, among the counties of Maryland. And from 2002 to 22, the average farm size decreased actually from 351 acres to 321 acres. If you look at the median, which is the average of the incidences, it's 66 acres. So the farm sizes are decreasing, but the farm numbers are actually increasing slightly. So the most common types of farms in Queen Anne's County, you probably know, are grains and oil seeds. And these types of farms did decline in number since 2002, from 235 to 190. Poultry farms are making up a larger portion of farms since 2002, and they've actually doubled since 2002, from 33 to 66. And this just shows you the graphic there just shows you the farm operations by acreage. It's soybeans are the largest part of the acreage, and then followed by corn, and then wheat, and then a small wedge of other. And economic analysis findings, so the USDA, this is on agritourism specifically, and the USDA really didn't do much reporting in the Census of Agriculture on agritourism until 2017. But from 2017, the number of farms, according to the census, and we think this number's low, that are engaged in agritourism in the county grew from 16 to 25. I think there's just no way to 100% report everything, so we think that's low. The farm-related income, again, we think this is low from agritourism. It went from 240,000 to 833,000. It was growing in those 5 years. The business income is likely underreported, as I mentioned, and then agritourism business can fall into so many categories. If you have a retail store, like a farm store, that might go under a retail category and not under the farm, but yet it's truly an agritourism. It can be an agritourism use. So it's a little hard to track. But we did the best we could do with what we had. Then you look at the tourism side of this, part of agritourism, obviously. The visitor spending in Queen Anne's County is very strong, and actually we noticed in going through the data that the Queen Anne's County visitor information spending actually recovered more quicker than just about any other jurisdiction, certainly on the Eastern Shore and mostly in Maryland. So the 2023 numbers, which were just released after we compiled some of this data, they actually exceed the 2019 numbers. So tourism is in a good place in Queen Anne's County. Some of the sites that are a draw for visitors, and this is important to mention because we think that there's a way to link up agritourism with some of what are the attractions. A lot of it is about the waterfront. Terrapin Beach Park, Chesapeake Fishing Pier and Beach, and Y Island are actually the top draws on the tourism side. We feel like, as I said, a good opportunity to bring together the agritourism with Chesapeake Bay and other county attractions and activities. So we'll talk a little more about that. And this just gives you a breakdown of the visitor spending. It's pretty almost evenly split between lodging and food and beverage, and then they count transportation. So I guess that's every type of transportation as its own category there. So, and then there's recreation and a small amount of retail. And that's from 22. So one of the big things that we knew we needed to look into, and we did a detailed look at this, was the wine, craft brew, and distilleries, and the issue of that. There are two wineries in Queen Anne's County, Kasha Vineyards and Love Point Vineyards. They're both wineries, and they're both located in Stevensville. And then there are 5 craft breweries in the county, including 2 farm breweries. So the farm breweries are a little different, that they do something that's related on a farm to what they're doing, and they're not just a retail or a restaurant type of outlet, food service. So the farm breweries are Big Truck Queenstown Brew House and Farm, which I drove by this morning, and the Patriot Acres Farm Brewery. There's one distillery in the county. It's called Old Courthouse Distilling, but it's important to note that it's actually located in the town of Centerville. So it produces American-style whiskey, rum, and agave spirits. So it's not in under the county's jurisdiction proper, but it is within the county. Then there is an opportunity really to plan for. We think there's a lot of opportunity to plan for more annual, biannual type events that highlight the breweries and the wineries in the county. And we feel like, and I think everyone agrees, there may be an opportunity to expand alcohol production. So some of the programs and resources that we were introduced to that help to support agritourism businesses was mentioned. Heather mentioned the Micro Agriculture Grant Program. It's been a great program. I heard from some of the farmers that we interviewed that was really important funding and support that they had to kind of go to the next step or do something for marketing or innovating or something new. So that's a terrific program, and I think your next round will be your 5th round of that. So that's a great program. Another one that we heard good things about was the Annie's Project, which is a 6-week course sponsored by the University of Maryland Extension, and it's really for people interested in starting an ag business. And the participants they learn from aspects over the course of that 6 weeks, all aspects of the business. So it's all aspects of setting up that business with an emphasis on ag business. And then Chesapeake College, as was mentioned earlier, runs an agriculture program right here for an AA degree to help students, as they say, build the foundation in agriculture, plant science, animal science, soil science, business, and economics. And then there are other state and federal programs, and I know the Secretary of Agriculture is here, so there's state and federal technical assistance and financing programs that are managed by the Maryland Department of Agriculture, and then the Maryland Agriculture and Resource-Based Industry Corporation, as well as the USDA Farm Service Agency and Financing Program. So those are all really important programs that help to support agritourism. So some of our key findings, and I'll just go through these pretty quickly. Queen Anne's County can address some barriers to agritourism, but others are maybe beyond their control. I mean, certain things are actually regulated by the state, and so there are definitely things that can be done at the local level, but keeping that in mind. The county doesn't currently have a definition of agritourism, but we definitely know we want to have one, and we're working and we want to encompass the full range of the activities that are considered for agritourism. So we're working on that now, and that's actually part of one of the recommendations is to specifically, is to define the range of activities that fall under agritourism. And then sometimes that navigating that approval and permitting process can be complex and costly, and it's due to partly due to the regulatory requirements at the state and local levels. So we know it's one of the things that we'd like to see if we can help improve that. And then the current agritourism trends are not necessarily reflected in the zoning and subdivisions regulation codes, just that there are certain activities that aren't addressed. And again, this is something that would probably, the kinds of things that would ultimately make it into the agritourism definition. And we use an example. There are farmers who do these farm-to-table dinners. So there are these events where they actually can feed from what they grow. And then we've also, another example is there are some incidental overnight stays that some jurisdictions are doing that's like I think there's even an app for farm stays. So that's another one that's not necessarily reflected yet in that. And then the farm alcohol production uses in the county differ from the state definitions and from neighboring counties, but it's just that I think it's more so that you want to make sure that you cover what we need to be covering. So, and then special events, they're permitted conditionally, subject to additional standards and a hearing and a vote by the Board of Appeals, so that's a bit of a process. And they're only permitted on parcels that are 20+ acres. So those are some of the things that came up, and a lot of these came up in the interviews and the focus groups that we participated, that we held. So we looked at some other counties and what they were doing, and I think it's pretty widely agreed that Frederick County is probably, I think, the farthest into agritourism and supporting agritourism. They actually have 31 farms engaged in agritourism, and then their value-added agriculture income, and this is according to that USDA ag census that I mentioned, is $13,577,000 compared to $348,000 in the Queen Anne's County. So they are pretty far along, and they've done a lot in that. And they actually established, I believe it was last year, they established a new Office of Agriculture with centralized services related to farming. So they have they have specialists who work with helping on value-added agriculture and agritourism, and they put a lot of emphasis on it. We did, in the report, we have two profiles of two agritourism businesses. The one that's pictured on this slide here is Linganore Cellars, which is the oldest, I believe it's the oldest winery in the state. And it's quite an operation. If you haven't been there, it's a beautiful farm and been very successful over many years. And then the Gaver Farm, which is a completely different type of operation. Their busy season is just ended, I guess. They have two seasons. They basically do a fall part where they have pumpkins and everything to do with fall. You can imagine the corn mazes and so forth. And then they also have a Christmas tree, a Christmas type operation where they also sell Christmas trees and everything about Christmas. So those are two that we profiled that were interesting. And then Carroll County was another one we looked at. There are 26 farms there that are engaged in agritourism, and their value-added agriculture income is about $1.3 million. They have a dedicated agriculture development specialist who who works on marketing for agritourism and agriculture in general, business development, and then also does outreach. So knows all the farmers and has helped them find resources and helped them get through their development review process to be able to be operational if they're interested in something along the lines of agritourism. But interestingly enough, and I was surprised by this, and I used to work for the state, so I thought I knew a lot about the different counties, but agriculture is actually Carroll County's largest industry. And we did a report profile on one business, and that's in the picture. It's called Bowers Orchards and Farms, and it's also, again, quite an operation. Has a store, has pick your own, and also has a restaurant. And I'm really anxious to go see it sometime or go visit. And then lastly, we looked at one county on the Eastern Shore, Worcester County. Has 16 farms engaged in agritourism, so their agritourism activity is probably a little less than actually Queen Anne's County, but again, their income is $1.3 million, so they are doing a little better on the income side. It's also kind of one thing that sort of has in common with Queen Anne's County. As you know, Worcester County is home to Ocean City, so it considers the agritourism operations as, they consider it agritainment. That's the way they're actually written in their code, and that's their definition, is more like agritainment. But it's a desirable tourist location, so they know that they get some business from people who are visiting to go to Ocean City, to come down to visit. And one of the places that really does that is a place called Windmill Creek Winery, Vineyard and Winery, and they have quite an operation there as well. They do all kinds of things year-round. They host festivals, and they're in Berlin. And they also host something that I thought was interesting, and something that would potentially be something that could be done here. They have a wine tasting cruise where this winery actually, as it does outings, hosts it and serves their wine, and so it combines really that part of their best resource. One of their resources, and certainly one of their tourism attractions, is the water, and so they're able to do that, and that's a good example of that. So what are some of the initiatives that we see to expand opportunities for agritourism? And this is really, this is kind of the start of what we are putting together for the recommendations list and an action plan. First is develop a definition of agritourism. And I know this is important to the state. A lot of counties, many counties have not yet done it, but almost all of them are in the process of doing it. So Queen Anne's County's kind of in the same place as many of other places, and but I think that they very strongly want to do that. Once that agritourism definition is developed, consider allowing more agritourism uses, or if they're included in the definition, some to be permitted by right rather than just conditional uses. That makes going through the process easier. It's actually better for the staff too, because if we can define some of those, I think that would be helpful. I think a really important one that came out of it, and something that you probably realize with both Frederick and Carroll County, which I said outright, is we feel that there probably should be an agriculture specialist position that would be in the Economic and Tourism Development Department. And it's really, there are several different things that person could do. Provide navigation assistance to agritourism businesses that work through the county regulatory and approval processes. A lot of people who come, any kind of start a small business, they're not familiar with that. So to have a person who understands it going in and helping to guide them to put forward an application that will ultimately be successful. We think that's an important role that needs to be part of this position. And then assisting businesses, and really using maybe even other resources like the Small Business Development Center and others to develop workable business plans. And I mentioned Annie's project. That's kind of part of what they do, or a big part of what they do, is helping to develop these small agritourism businesses. And then finally, providing marketing and promotion assistance specifically for the agritourism industry. And we saw some materials, we saw what they're doing in social media and some of these other places, and there's a lot more that could be done in that too. So it would be kind of a comprehensive position focused on agriculture and agritourism. We're looking at updating the farm alcohol production uses and definitions as necessary. There's been a lot of effort toward trying to figure out a way to get to farm alcohol, and I think that that's going to be part of what a lot of what we talked about. So that's definitely a goal. And revising the way that the special events are maybe dressed and called, considering dividing them into tiers of intensity based on size and time of day. We looked at that. We heard a lot of that feedback. And one of the things that we've talked about that is we're hoping, I hope that it's just beyond idea, is the potential partnership with the state to site an agriculture technology incubator in Queen Anne's County. We did talk to a representative from the Maryland Department of Commerce and really feel that Queen Anne's County, kind of in its gateway to the Eastern Shore and its proximity to the metro area, just on the other side of the bridge, is really a great location for being able to help incubate some agriculture, ag tech, which has become a big part of agriculture. I mean, there's so much that now that you use technology to do in agriculture that's an important part. And that one, actually, the idea is actually to include commercial kitchen facilities in that, because that's another thing that we heard about, that the food businesses that want to start don't have, that they need a place that would be able to be approved by the health department and regulatory to be able to do their type of business. And then just expand the programs and resources for agritourism businesses and in general, and again, identify events and activities, work with the folks around here that bring together the agritourism with what are Queen Anne's County's best tourism assets, which include not only the Chesapeake Bay and the waterfront, but also some of the parks and trails, and doing some innovative things or thoughts about things like doing a wine trail or a brewery trail or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of different things, and again, some of the other places, we had some good examples of what other people are doing in other parts of Maryland. And that's it. So that's the presentation, and I don't know if there's any questions or whether we're just wrapping up.
We can take a couple questions.
Okay.
If anybody has
Any other question?
Does anybody have any questions? John, you have one?
Yeah, then I didn't hear you mention a lot about the liquor and everything, but Queen Anne's County has a lot of retired dairy barns. And a lot of families in Queen Anne's County leave Queen Anne's County to have weddings and other events in these barns that have been totally remodeled as an event center, so to speak. And that I just wouldn't mention, I just thought that would be great in proximity to Annapolis. And we had a grain farmer a few years ago acquired a retired dairy farm that had a 100-stall barn on it. That's a big venue, and I think he did some things to it to have his own daughter's wedding there, and then it couldn't open it to the public because it couldn't do that in Queen Anne's County. And there's a lot of families, we've been a lot of weddings in remodeled cow barns in other counties.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, it is.